This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.
Continuing the conversations this morning on your Beyond the News station, we now turn to education. This time, the Joint Admissions and Matriculations Board JAMB has announced the cutoff mark for admissions into higher institutions. This decision was made during the 2025 policy meeting on admissions, and it lists the cutoff marks for the colleges of nursing as 140, the colleges of agriculture and the colleges of education at 100, and the universities themselves at 150. Joining the conversation this morning is Professor Adepoju Tejumaye, who is the head of the Mass Communications Department at the University of Lagos. Professor Tejumaye, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us on the conversation.
Yes, good morning. How are you? Good morning.
Fine, and glad to have you with us. Professor, let's can you give us a sense of just the reactions to this cutoff mark by JAMB? It's the highest in the last couple of years at 150.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. But let me quickly correct you. I am not the current HOD. I worked the HOD. I still been the HOD of the department last year. Now, let's go to the conversation.
Sincerest apologies, Professor, for the misrepresentation.
No, it's one of those things. It can happen. Now, the cutoff mark, which I will call strength marks, are damn low, sincerely. And this has been the, I will call it tradition. It has always been like this for the last 5, 6, 7 years. You know, you have 150, 160, 170. And these are marks that are below 40%, honestly. Now, look at 150 for universities, that's at 7.5%. 140 for colleges of nursing, that's 35%. 100 for polytechnics, 100 for college of education, 100 for college of agriculture, that's 25%. Is that what we want to be perpetuating? The general belief is that the JAMB is an aptitude test. An aptitude test being, meaning that it's a leveler. More like saying that once you have that low score, it means that you have an inclination or you have an ability to, be admitted. My dear brother, my dear countrymen and women, by having the cutoff mark, low in this form, to me, it's a defeatist approach. It's more like a confirmation and a perpetuation of mediocrity.
Professor, can you break down for us, explain to us properly, right, what this means for you in the classrooms? What's the ripple impact of setting the cutoff at 150?
That is where I'm going. If you're having students that failed, that did not meet the 40% general performance being admitted, what kind of students do you think we're going to have in classroom? Mediocre students. That's the meaning. We're giving admissions to students who scored below 40%. That's not good. And at the end of the day, we'll be saying that the educational standard is falling, this and this is happening. But we are by accepting this or by going by this mark, we are simply perpetuating mediocrity. That's why I think the general belief, the reason why many people will go for it is because they said it's an aptitude test, that it's a leveler, that it does not mean that when students come into classroom that their performance will be low. But I strongly think that we should do the right thing at the right time. Look at it. We have 150 for universities. Now, if you look at the statistics of the result of JAMB this year, we have high number of people that had 200 and above. Yes, I agree that those high numbers cannot, they are not sufficient for the institutions, for the almost 200 institutions and universities that we have. But do we now, because of that, go below minimum mark? Generally, as being globally as 40%. 150 is at 7.5%, which that is a fail in university. That's the minimum score to pass is 40%. And we are admitting students, right, with score that is lower than 40%.
So, Professor, let me ask you this. You describe it as a defeatist approach. And when you look at the outcome of JAMB every year, right, there's a sizable amount of students or candidates who write it that continue to fail. And so sometimes JAMB then decides that, look, let's set it at a lower mark so we have more people in the tertiary institutions. What would your suggestion then be for reversing this trend of failure?
Good. What we need to do to reverse this trend of failure is to, have right teachers at both primary and secondary levels. The students need to be properly taught, properly tutored, properly trained. You understand? So that the performance level will increase. When we continue to have performance level that is this small, that is this kind of failure, it's not good for our system. And at the end of the day, we'll be arguing that our educational standard is falling. Why will it not fall when at the primary level and at the secondary level, the crop of teachers we have, they are not able to measure up? By having this kind of a score, it's more an indictment on the teachers we have in secondary school. More like saying that they are not measuring up. You understand? So Should we now extend the fact that they are not measuring up at the secondary school level, by so doing admit them with low score that is below 40%, so that they continue not to, the so-called level will now continue to be performing dismally? No, that's what I see. But now, like you said, the reason why you have the cutoff mark being low is what you just mentioned now, because the general performance determines the number of students that they get that the universities will admit. But the issue is that the issue is that, like I said, we are more like perpetuating mediocrity. We need to up our ante. I'm talking about the Ministry of Education needs to wake up, and the Ministry of Education at both state and federal levels need to wake up and employ competent teachers who will teach students both at the primary and secondary. You see, the primary and secondary determines a lot of things. If what you don't have, you can't give it. It simply translates to mean that these students cannot give. You understand? Their performance is low, and we are now, using that to admit them. No, that's why I say it. Well, but I want to quickly add that, the Vice Chancellor's met teacher, and I am not there. I don't know the wisdom with which they agreed on this low mark, which to me is failure. But you understand, they have agreed. But simply my view is that this shouldn't continue. It's been like this for the past 3, 4, 5 years, where we are having benchmark that is below 40%. No, please.
Professor, thank you very much for your time on this conversation. Professor Adekpoju Tejumaye is a former head of department of the Mass Comms department at the University of Lagos, joining us this morning to speak on JAMB's new cutoff marks for universities and other institutions of higher learning across the country. You're still listening to Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos. We urge you to stay tuned to your Beyond the News station. In a few short moments, we'll be turning to Brands Now. The spotlight and the focus is on an entrepreneur and their business. Do stay with us.
This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.